Hey y'all. I want to talk a bit about my relationship with Satan because I feel like there's a lot of assumptions people make and misconceptions that people have. And I want to say before I go on that anything I share is my own experience with Lord Satan, and I do not speak for anyone else but myself. So, I want I want to share how I met him, but it really would be a very nonlinear story because really he about a year and a half ago when I really encountered him and really embraced him, and what I say I like to phrase it as coming home to him. He has showed me all of the influence and, well, not all of the influence, but memories from my life where he had been there for me and I didn't even know it. So it's not linear to talk about how I came here. In some sense, I've always been on this path, and everything in my life led to me being here. And in another sense, I've only truly been a Satanist for about a year and a half now. Fine. But I think a lot of people get confused because I am polytheistic, and a lot of the questions they ask me about Lord Satan, they seem to think that I treat him like any other god or any other deity or demon or whatever. And frankly, I cannot do that. I don't do that, and I cannot do that because to me, it's like I feel him now. First of all, he's beyond words because I keep trying to make this fucking video. I just took a second in between takes to like really ask him to be with me, and I feel him with me, so I'm doing my best here. When I opened myself up to receiving his love, up to receiving him, and I did have to open myself up to him because he had been with me and I had been blind to that without even knowing it. You know, I had been denying him without even knowing him as part of the conditioning in this world around me. How peculiar that is that I never believed in Christianity, right? I never cared about it. So why, for a non-Christian person like myself, was there still stigma around even acknowledging that Satan could be real? Or could be, an acceptable, valid deity to worship or work with. But I get uncomfortable even saying, like, I'm trying to reclaim the term devil worshiper for myself, but I get uncomfortable saying that I work with or worship Satan. Has he helped me do work before? Yes, y'all have seen it on this channel. But I don't work with him the way I work with other entities. He's he's him, I don't know how else to fucking. Okay, let me back up. When I came home to him and I felt his presence, and it was honestly earth-shattering. I've cried with other deities before many times, but not like this. I was having a full-on, I guess, a revelation. I don't know what else to call it. A complete spiritual breakdown, a complete spiritual rebirth. It's so hard to describe this in words. I noticed that he commanded such respect, such a presence that did not require him to exert power over others. He has every ability to, but it was not how he carried himself. And when I was in the presence of such power, true power, not power over, but power from within, as a human being, I did not know what else to do besides submit, and I became very acutely aware of that in that moment. It's like he let me know, like, that he understood that as a human being, as human beings, we really don't know much about love outside of power dynamics and power being power over. And so all we know to express love is to give up power, to show submission, which Satan is understanding of, but he only really tolerates for so long before he redirects you. Let's put it that way. And when I felt such power, and I didn't know what else to do besides bow and you know, and acknowledge that this was my Lord. He made it known, and I was like, well, why? I was angry with myself to some degree. I was like, why couldn't I let you in, you know, before? Why did I deny you before? Why did I do this stuff? And I was beginning to try to beat myself up about it, which he promptly just stopped me from doing. And he didn't have to tell me in words. It's like he just let me know. I don't know how else to describe this. It's like it came as a knowing that, okay, had he come to me before, and when I didn't believe in him, right? When I wasn't open to him at all, and I was actively denying him, had he come to me then, I would have completely pushed him away and not trusted it, and like, oh, the great deceiver came to me, and you know, he basically let me know I had to come to him. I had to come to him myself. I had to come to him, and I had to come to him willingly. And to have such a powerful, the most powerful being I've ever met, and I do believe ever will meet, let me know that he waited for my consent, me, a little mammal on a rock floating through the vastness of space, you know, smaller to him than an ant is to me, that he valued my autonomy that much. That was a love I had never known before. That was a love that even other gods, I suppose, didn't really afford me. And I knew that he was above. He would resent that term, but or he doesn't do hierarchies really, but that he is God of gods is what I mean. That he acknowledges this puny human's potential for godhood. Probably not in this lifetime, probably not in the next, but my potential for godhood, or just simply my, I don't want to say my humanity, it feels like more than that. That he gave me a level of respect that no one had ever given me before. That I didn't know I was deserving of. I had no concept for it. And when I met him, I just didn't know what else to do besides show submission, but there's no need to do that. And as my relationship with him developed, I noticed I wasn't really looking at his face, because again, I felt like it was disrespectful to just look at his face. So I decided one day to ask him, "My Lord, may I look upon your face?" And he said to me, because he's often rhetorical like this, he often answers me with a question, and I'll give another example in a moment, but he said to me, "Do you believe you're worthy to look upon my face?" And I knew in that instance that if I didn't believe I was worthy, then I wasn't. And if I did believe I was worthy, or rather how he would put it, if I did know that I was worthy, then I was. And thus I, looked upon his face. And sorry, I'm gonna get emotional if I keep going, but and that was an extremely, like many experiences with him, like most experiences with him, an extremely beautiful experience. Impossible to describe. What I saw is not as important as what I felt. And it's this level of divinity that I feel from him, this level of pure acceptance, love, wisdom, power, is undeniable to me. It's completely undeniable. And I get very frustrated with a lot of other occultists and whomever who make the claim that they know him, make the claim that they've met him, make the claim that they've worked with him or whatever. I often find later on they claim that some other entity is darker than him or more powerful than him or whatever the fuck. And that's how I know they have never met him. They met an entity maybe using the same name or that responded to them, but they've never met him. They don't know him. And they weren't chosen by him. Which is fine, Not everyone will be. But there's no denying, if you've truly known him, that nothing compares to him. Nothing, no one. Oh my gosh. Sorry, just felt him for a minute. Nothing compares to him. And I'm gonna share, like, okay, so when I was first getting into him, what do I mean by that? Getting into Satanism after, like, as a Satanist, not as someone just studying Satanism, but getting into theistic Satanism, I mean to say, after coming home to Satan, I was really curious about satanic groups, and I eventually found one that I felt, wasn't gonna be racist, it wasn't gonna be weird, and I was gonna check it out when the pandemic was calmed down, but, clearly it hasn't. Anyway, I was gonna check it out, and their website was, informative, but very poorly written. Like, I really wanted to help them, like, fix their website, because it's got a lot of spelling mistakes. Anyway, and, I still wasn't sure, because, what they put out publicly and what they do privately is inevitably going to be a bit different. And I remember asking Lord Satan, I said, what do you think of this group? Like, is this a good group for me to join? He teaches me through the Socratic method, so this is how he replied. He said, what do you think this group would bring you closer to me? And it's like, I instantly knew. I'm like, no fucking group is gonna bring me closer to Satan. Are you kidding me? What are groups about? The people in the group. It becomes about the drama between the people. Like, any group made about anything is never about the thing it was made about. It always becomes about the group. So I knew then and there that the best way to reach him was on my own, not through anybody else. And that's, not me trying to shit on groups, but honestly, I see, the older I get and the more experienced I become in magic and in spirituality, and especially the left-hand path, I'm just I'm completely disillusioned with the idea of groups, and I'm very grateful I've never joined a coven. I was part of, like, a little witchy group calling itself a coven, but honestly, they never did anything magical ever. Ever. It was like a stupid Wicca 101 study group that I was so far advanced beyond, and I was wasting my time there. So glad I left that. But really, I'm at a point now where, sorry, I was setting my cup on the floor. I'm at a point now where people ask me about books, they'll ask me about groups, whatever the fuck else, and I remember I keep thinking about Damiano's Black Flame Immersion podcast, which unfortunately no longer exists. There's a shitty imitation or whatever that stole the name, but don't bother with that one. I think about that because I remember Damiano really driving home the point: you don't need these books, you don't need teachers, you don't need groups, you need you, and it's you and a deity. That's it. And that's kind of what I've been doing for a long time, and that's kind of where I'm at, and that's especially where Satan is leading me. And that doesn't mean I'm not going to read any books, but I really don't know how to teach people how to feel their own black flame. I don't know how. And if you don't know how to feel your own black flame, you're inevitably going to waste a lot of your own time, and you're going to eventually become lost. Now, there was a time when I didn't know my own black flame, but I always had a sense of self. I always had a sense of who I wanted to be, and a kind of inner guiding force. I don't know how else to explain. I don't know if everyone has it, but I'm really questioning if some people are even capable of it, but I like to believe everyone is capable of it if they do the work to connect to themselves. The world we live in right now does everything it can to disconnect you from yourself and put yourself into a box and substitute self for a label or for things or stuff or groups or whatever, right? For example, a lot of the labels that you could put on me would be like woman, queer, white, poor, sex worker, a witch even. You know, these are all labels. But are they who I am? No. Am I made up solely of the accumulation of these labels and the intersections therein? No. I'm beyond that. There was a time before I was any of those things. You know? There was a time before I was any of those things. Who was I then? Was I just child then? Am I defined by who I have been in time? Because time is simply a matter of perception, really. So, in some sense, there's parts of me that already exist that I'm not aware of because of time. But when I'm involved with my black flame, when I'm experiencing my black flame, I don't need labels. I don't even need memories to know who I am. And if you ask me to describe it, no, I don't have words. Just like how gods don't really have names because they know who they are. I love this, I don't know if it's in the book, because I unfortunately never read the book, but in the movie adaptation, Coraline, I love this scene where Coraline introduces herself to the cat. And when she finds out the cat can talk, and the cat says, in response to her asking what the cat's name is, he says, I'm a cat. I don't need a name. Cats, we know who we are. Humans need names because they don't know who they are. And, I feel that way about the gods. This is why I stress to people, stop attaching man-made things so heavily to the gods. Because they're not defined by those man-made things. They're not defined by the mythology or the labels or the names. These are all ways in which they communicate to us. Because we're human and we need stories and we need characters in those stories and we need images and we need labels. Because we don't know how else to define things or even discuss things. But, truthfully, gods don't need names because they know who they are. And thus, when you are connecting to your own black flame, you don't need labels. in that moment, at the very least. When you come back out of it, you know, whatever meditation or whatever the fuck it is, and you come back to the 3D world, you need labels again to navigate it. But in that space, in that void within yourself that you fill, and that you are everything within it, and you're perfect and imperfect all at once within it, your imperfections become perfect. The profane becomes divine, and the divine becomes the profane. There's no need for labels. You simply just know who you are. Even if it's just like in the metaphor I used in my live stream when I was talking about the eyelash, even if it's just a fucking eyelash, to know the eyelash without the label of eye and lash and like all this other shit, just to know it for what it is, just to experience it for what it is. Not trying to define it, not trying to contain it or describe it, just letting it be, just accepting it as it is. I think I will leave here and make myself some dinner. But thanks for watching, and I'll be back with something else at some point. And there's no rhyme or reason to any of this. I'm doing whatever I feel guided to do. So, thank you.